Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for tuning in this morning. I'm going to give some people, yes, you made it on time. It's 10 o'clock. I'm just giving some people some time to tune in. I know people tuned in and people left. People came in, people left. I'm just giving people a few minutes to just kind of come in so that we can start this conversation. I want to give you guys some information today really quickly and just make this as educational as purpose as I can. Just give me a second. Like I said, just going to give it a few minutes just because I want to let some people come in. I know I wasn't sitting here when I turned it on, so there was a bunch of people left, came back. But we're going to start in about 1 minute. Looks like the interview couch. I don't know. Do you know I don't get to see too much American TV, so I really don't. I don't know anymore. But anyway, we're gonna start the conversation, and the people that are able to catch it will catch it, and the people, good morning, the people that are not able to catch it will just have to rewind. I don't have a whole lot of time this morning to sit and talk with you, but for those of you that know me, my name is Cherry Martinez, or you know, you guys have been following me for some time, so you already know who I am. But for those of you guys that don't know me, I'm Cherry Martinez, and I'm the owner of Sirena Surgical Services. You guys, I am a plastic surgery professional. I've been living in the Dominican Republic for 4 years now, and have been working in almost every area of plastic surgery since I started. Just to give you a little bit of background, I am a 2-time plastic surgery patient, 2 times here in the Dominican Republic. And because I've had experiences here in the Dominican Republic, I saw an opportunity to create better services and to bring more advocacy to the patients. I think a lot of times most of us are doing our shopping on the internet, and we're so dependent on the internet to provide us with the information that we need to make sure that this surgery thing goes well. But oftentimes we're not given the information that we need. We're given the information that they want to provide us, and there's not really anybody in the background saying, hey, it needs to look like this, it needs to look like that, take care of this. And so I've always tailored my platform to 2 things. 1, never dictating your choices and never trying to force you into an option of what I think might be better. I really try my best to support you on whatever your body goals are, whatever your choices are, whatever it is that you want to do. And then the other thing is, I'm always trying to be transparent with you about what's going on here in the Dominican Republic, in the surgery community, in the doctor's offices, in the clinics. You know, I started as somebody who, you know, helped patients and was a patient. And now I work closely with doctors, with recovery homes. And, you know, most importantly, now, you know, what we need to talk about today is what's in the news, right? Or maybe what's in the news and is not hitting you, or you're hearing about it in groups and there's like little bits of rumors happening here and there, and there's not really clear information. So I want to give you guys a few minutes of my time to explain to you exactly what's happening here in the Dominican Republic. What are the rumors that you're hearing? What's true, what's not true, and how we can support you, those of us that are here in the Dominican Republic, and how others that are at home can prepare themselves for coming out here for this trip. So right now, you might have noticed that on social media and Facebook groups, even here on Instagram, I mean, I know I posted it on my Instagram, you'll see that the recovery homes are kind of under fire. And so are Airbnbs and just the recovery industry in general. Why is that? So over the last few years, at least the last 4 or 5 years, there's been a massive boom in plastic surgery, and especially during the pandemic. You would think during the pandemic that, you know, people weren't having surgery, people weren't traveling and blah, 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 but it was the opposite. We had so many people during the pandemic, but we also had a lot of restrictions. So because of those restrictions, we weren't able to be as involved in all of the community centers as maybe they would have liked to have been, just for health precautions, right? Because the whole world was on alert. And, you know, this is a smaller economy here in this country than in the United States, and so they have less resources. So they were super, super careful about where they were going and where they were investigating. But now we need to have a conversation. In the news recently, you might have noticed, or here on my platform, you might have noticed that I've been having conversation about the recovery homes, and that you need to make sure that you are staying at a authorized recovery home, a licensed recovery home, a recovery home that's registered with the public health ministry. So here in the Dominican Republic, there's something called the Ministry of Public Health, or the Ministerio de Salud Pública. The Ministerio de Salud Pública is basically the health department. They are, and so in the United States, we have them in each state. The state has its own health department, and they oversee the facilities and the clinics and the doctor's offices and the massage therapists and all that stuff. That's how you hear about in Miami, certain people are getting arrested for poking and doing things that are against the rules in Miami for massage, and why you're hearing about all these different things happening, because the state governing bodies in the states monitor all of these places. So here in the Dominican Republic, it's not really any different. You have what's called the Ministerio de Salud Pública, and they are the people that supervise all of the establishments that cater to health services, right? Those people, they have different departments within Salud Pública, and within Salud Pública, there's a department called the Habilitation Department, or the Licensing Division. They are the division or the department within Salud Pública that issues the licensing. Now, in order to obtain your license, there is a process that you have to follow. There are papers that you have to file. There's taxes that you have to pay. There's a process that recovery home owners go through. However, in order to be a licensed recovery home, you have to have met the requirements that Ministerio de Salud Pública, or the public ministry, has put there for you to meet, right? Okay, so it can't be Wild Wild West. You can't just decide, I have a house, I have an extra bed, my son went off to college, I'd love to receive patients here because I could use the extra money and blah, blah, blah. It sounds nice, it does, but it's not safe, right? And so there's a lot of different conversation about what's happening with being safe, what's not safe, and so we'll get there. So just bear with me, I promise you. Okay, so now that they have these list of requirements, and then you have to meet these requirements in order to qualify. No big deal. But now that you have to meet these requirements, and you file and you do your paperwork, you're good. But when you're looking at the list of requirements, one of the first things that you will notice is that the health department for the Dominican Republic has stated that 1, Airbnbs, 2, apartments in general, 3, apartment buildings for residential use. Those places are not authorized. In fact, they are strictly prohibited from receiving patients that have just had post-surgical intervention phase. They're not able to stay there. Why? If God forbid you pass out and you're on the 3rd floor walk up, because here there's very rarely an elevator in anything shorter than a 4th or 5th floor, you can walk up to the 4th floor. If you pass out, if you need help, somebody has to carry you down those stairs. It is not safe. If there's a fire, it is not safe. So there becomes a difference with saying, I'm going to stay in my auntie's house because I don't want to pay for recovery. My aunt lives there. I'm going to stay with her. She'll take care of me. Your aunt assumes that risk, and you're good with where your aunt lives, and that's that, but you didn't pay for it. There's a complete difference when you market yourself as a recovery home in a place where you know you're strictly prohibited from having it, and is breaking the law doing it, and you're charging people for it. That's where the issue comes in. So this was starting to happen all over the place, because during the pandemic, a lot of people didn't have recovery homes. There were some, but there weren't as many as there are today. And during the pandemic, a lot of people ended up buying Airbnbs. They ended up, using Airbnb services for patients to come and stay in and to do care and all that stuff. In fact, when I first started, okay, because I'm not going to put myself out, when I first started doing coordination, when I first started doing recovery, there was a lot of things that I didn't know about this industry. I came with love in my heart and wanting to do a good job and wanting to take care and protect people, but there was so much that I didn't know about the process. And yes, I used Airbnbs for the first 2 months because I didn't know I wasn't supposed to. I didn't know until I started realizing how complicated it was. By the 3rd month, I already had my recovery. So these are the things that I want to talk to you about, in the sense that when you guys are looking at having surgery, when you're looking at making plans, and you're looking at providers, right? Because you're shopping, and you should. When you're shopping, you need to know that if the recovery is held in an apartment off the rip, you're already violating some type of law. And if you're violating a law, it's not because they want to be a pain in the butt about it. It's because there's some type of risk that has already been experienced. Like, people have already died. People have already had horrible experiences, which is why these laws happen. Just like in the United States, a lot of times these laws are not put there just because somebody thought it was a good idea. Something horrible had to happen in order for these things to be put there, right? So you've got that. Then you have a whole wave of people that are not taking the easy way out. Listen, becoming a licensed recovery home has a very strict process. It's complicated. It can be a little costly. But the recovery home owners that are here in the Dominican Republic that are dedicated to providing good quality service have taken the time and the effort to go ahead and provide these homes and these services for you. You know, so when you have people that are telling you, hey, there's an Airbnb, we have an apartment, blah, 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 blah. You can stay here, we'll take care of you, it's cheap. You have to know that they're selling you something that they know is illegal. You have to know that they're selling you something that they know is not in your best interest. And if that's already being offered to you at the gate, what happens when you're here? These are the things I want you to consider, because again, I never try to dictate where you go, what you do, who you stay with, how you move, I don't. I'm here to support you and to give you the information that you need. So again, if you plan to come for plastic surgery and you're considering, well, I won't stay in a recovery house. I want to get an Airbnb and I'm just going to come with my friend and blah, 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 blah. Okay, now, what's the deal with that? Because yesterday I had a whole argument with this guy who is a cook at a recovery house. I'm not going to say his name because it's not worth it, and I've never, in all my years, I don't ever talk about people, and I'm not going to start now. But yesterday, it's very public, it's in a Facebook group, and he decided that he wanted to make a video about it. I had a big argument with this guy yesterday because I posted this information in the recovery group so that you guys could be aware that the Public Health Ministry has re-announced that they are going to be closing all the recovery homes as of October if they don't get themselves up to code, if they're not where they need to be, blah, blah, blah. There was a video that I posted that was a repost of a conference that happened at the Public Health Ministry here in the Dominican Republic, but it happened in 2021. The fact that it's being recirculated only means that the information is still valid. So there were people who were in the group, this cook particular was saying, that's not the Ministry of the Health Department, that person's not even in office anymore, that's old information, you guys are being manipulative, blah, blah, blah. Listen to me, baby. First of all, that gentleman that's in the video was never, ever the Minister of the Health Department. He is the director, I believe his name is Gerardo Mesa. He is the director for the licensing department for health establishments in the Dominican Republic. He is the person that says you get shut down. He is the person that says this is what needs to happen, and my army that's in the field, they're going to enforce it. So that is the man that we need to listen to, because yes, there is a health minister and there's a whole big thing, but for this one department, there is a department head, and that department head said in 2021 that they were going to start closing things down. But remember when we first started this conversation, I told you how the pandemic impacted a lot of the visitation and the run-ins and the inspections and all that stuff, right? Cool. Remember that. Even with that, the press conferences died down, the news that you were seeing died down, but why? It wasn't because it wasn't happening. It was because it wasn't being broadcasted, because people weren't going to work. People were maintaining their 6 feet. People were keeping their space. So just so that you know, in 2022 alone, over 490 unlicensed recovery homes were shut down. So for these people that are telling you that this is a new thing and that we're lying and that they're not going to come and they're not going to put you in a bad position, you really, 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 really need to ask yourself, why are these people telling me this? They can just go get a job at one of the great recovery homes that are here in Santo Domingo. I mean, even at the recovery homes, nobody's perfect. I'm sure every recovery home owner I know probably has at least one staff person that they want to get rid of. At least one. And could probably use help somewhere else. So truthfully, if these people are quality service providers, why would you not want to step your game up and work for a reputable center? because you're starving and so you want to take everything for yourself and you're going to put these people at risk, because that's not the move. Like, you guys don't realize, if you go and you stay in a condominium building where not only the health department has said it's illegal, but the law of the Dominican Republic for condominiums and apartments states that health establishments cannot be there, you will start to realize that there's a lot of problem with what these people are trying to offer you, and that the fact that the ethics are not there. And if the ethics are not there when you are at home, where you're safe at home, can you imagine what they will be like when you're here with a morphine drip? Can you imagine what they'll be like when you're here and you can't fend for yourself and you're dependent upon somebody else to be honest with you for real information? I get patients that sometimes are frustrated with their situation, even frustrated with me. I mean, it happens. But the reality is, if God forbid you ever have an emergency, you want to be in the right place. So if you have an Airbnb because you came with family and friends and you figure, well, I'll just rent a private nurse, I need you to understand that still the law of apartment and condominiums states that it's illegal. You don't live here. So you don't get to fight the whole, well, I rented my own apartment and I have my own private nurse because I live here. No, mama. These people are not slow. They know you got on the plane. They know you came here to have surgery. They know somebody's eating off of that. And it's not allowed. And it's not allowed not because they don't want them to eat. There's no unemployment or no public health programs here. They need these people to make their money how they can. What is happening? What's happening is that they know that these situations and circumstances are putting you at risk. They are dangerous. They may not appear to be. This young man went ahead to say that we know that it can be uncomfortable if, you have to go to another country and heal with somebody that you don't know. But once they're here, we give them a great service and they leave happy, and that he's never had a problem. God bless him, because he's one person. And there's been so many people that have had problems. There's so many people that have had complications, which is why these people, the health department, the Ministerio de Salud Pública, ADOCARE, which is the Recovery Home Association, which is why all of these things are being formed and they're coming into play, and these rules are being enforced. COVID is over. Everybody's enjoying the fact that they could go to the beach, they could go to the club, they could drink, they could hang out, they could whatever. The health department now said, okay, you over the COVID thing, you had a little time to pick up. Now, back to business. You guys, it is about you. It is always about you. And so, although I know it sounds uncomfortable and it sounds inconvenient, I would much rather, if you had a complication, that you're able to get attention right away, that the supports are in place, because God forbid you need a casket. God forbid you need to be airflown home. God forbid you need to go home and come back for a revision. God forbid you go home sick. God forbid anything that could happen to you while you're here will be much more costly than if you just paid a few dollars and stayed in a recovery home. I always tell people that aren't fans of the recovery home thing, if you want to come and you want to stay in a recovery home the first few days till you're stable, the first few days till your drain is removed, then that's always an option. But I would never, ever, ever recommend that you come to this country for a surgical intervention for 7 days. This is not Miami. You guys, lots of people die in Miami. Lots of recovery homes get closed in Miami. The same thing is happening in Colombia. The same thing is happening in Turkey. The health departments, they're getting beat to this. Why? I need you guys to think with me. If you had to come up and you bought an Airbnb and you're like, yo, I'm going to make money and I'm going to put it in DR because I know everybody goes over there and people spend money, especially during spring break. These people, they go and they spend money, blah, blah, blah. What if your neighbor rents their Airbnb to somebody who's running a recovery and they don't take care of the patients, and so every few months somebody's dying or somebody's being taken out, rushed? That is traumatizing, to be on vacation with your family and be seeing somebody dying, or with your kids and having to expose them to that. So while I know for us it's what makes us comfortable, I used to use Airbnbs. I know it makes us comfortable. It's not the best thing, and the apartment owners, the tower owners, are pissed. So people have been saying also, like, okay, well, what if they're knocking on the door? They're going to be knocking on the door. People are going to be knocking on the door. People are not going to be knocking on the door necessarily unless they know about you, right? In terms of the health department. But the building owner and the concierge, do you not think they see you coming in and out? Do you not think they see you coming in and out the parking lot, being dropped off, being picked up? They know the movement. You're not the only one that's come through. Other people have come through. So once they start suspecting, once a neighbor starts complaining, once the elevator's too dirty, once you guys do something that causes a problem in that space is now alerted. So now the health department does know about you, but worse than the health department knowing about you, the owner of the apartment is going to get fined, and more than likely, if they violate the terms, they're going to have to sell their unit. And that's what's beginning to happen, because again, people are being put into all types of environments that are not suited for their condition. If you lived here, if you had a family member here, different story. If you lived here, if you were a citizen and you're like, oh, I hired a private nurse and she got to take care of me, that's different. But they know you're medical tourists. And because you're medical tourists, you're coming here. And when you leave here and you go back home and you go back home sick and everything else, you give DR a bad name. They're tired of that too. You know what I mean? I mean, you got to think about it like that. So at the end of the day, we are trying to do nothing more than to provide you the best care, the quality services that you deserve. I know that it's a little cheaper than it is in the States sometimes, but the truth of the matter is that the care needs to be the same, if not better, because you are away from home. The information, the trust, it has to be there, you guys. I don't know who you deal with. I don't know who you'll be booking through. I don't know where you'll be staying. All I want you to know are these very important points. The laws are there because they're there to protect you. The Airbnbs are not allowed. The apartments are not allowed. The condo buildings are not allowed. Residential buildings are not allowed. And so you guys have to know that when you have providers telling you, no, it's okay. No, that's not true. No. You know what that means? That means that they're hustling you. They're hustling your health care. And I'm sorry, I might buy a fake bag. You know what I mean? I might do something like that, but I'm not gonna skimp on my health care. You guys have seen enough TV shows about people dying. You've seen enough TV ratings and people getting famous talking about botched surgeries and about, what was that? Her body almost killed her, K. Michelle's show, and all these people and the news and the butt injections and all the different things. Yo, that's all good for Hollywood, but when it's you don't want that to happen. It's always sad, and we always say we don't want it to happen to somebody else, but how many times will it happen before it happens close to you? The only way that moves further and further away from our community is by knowing how to protect yourself, knowing the truth, having access to the real rules that you need to keep you safe. These recovery homes are here, and they're here to provide you the best care potentially possible. Okay? If anybody has questions, you guys can feel free to contact me. You can feel free to write me. If you have questions about, the homes, if you have questions about just in general how to manage your own care, let me know. But again, my suggestion is if you're planning to come, and you've managed to save this much money, take the time and save a few more dollars and plan to have the appropriate recovery, because it would be really whack for you to end up on the street or have a bad situation. When I had my recovery, my second round of surgery, my provider put me in massive harm's way, and I ended up on the street with my pain pumping. So I was intoxicated with a morphine drip. I was alone, and it was not a good situation. And so you guys need to make sure that if, God forbid, you end up here, you don't want to end up in a situation where you may have to move from your recovery because it's not up to standard. Not because the health department comes or because the building comes, but just because you're not comfortable there, it didn't look like what you had, or suddenly these people are charging you for everything under the sun because they don't have it, or because the health department closes it, or because the building management says, hey, this is not appropriate use, shut it down. People keep saying that can't happen, but have you not paid for a reservation at a hotel that's non-smoking? If you smoke in a hotel that's non-smoking, and you cover the vents and this and that, they might not know. But what if they're really a pain in the ass about it? And what if they knock on your door and they catch you smoking? Then what happens? You're gonna get kicked out and you're gonna get fined. You understand? And so you got to understand that the same thing will happen. Savvy Gucci asked me, what's your question, honey? You know what I mean? And so these are things that you want to pay attention to. You don't want to, you don't want to look away when it comes to these things. So I just want to make sure, like I said, that you guys have the information that you need, that you feel good. You can confirm a doctor's certification on solosipre.net. That's a very easy way. All you have to do is write that person's name in the search box and you will get your response right there. But so back to this conversation about the recoveries, again, I just want you to be safe. I just want you guys to be okay. I want to make sure that I provide you with the right information and get you guys where you need to be. If you need my help with that, please reach out. I work with a number of really, really wonderful recoveries, small recoveries, big recoveries, and everything in between. Just like we work with a bunch of doctors. And again, these people are people that are dedicated to bringing you guys high quality services and protecting you as best as they can. If you need any help from me, or if you need anything at any time, please make sure that you hit my DM or contact us on WhatsApp. We're happy to help. We're happy to refer you to one of these wonderful recovery homes, or to help you in any other way that you need. And yeah, we wish you well. If you guys have questions, like I said, make sure that you reach me, okay? Can I go? Is everybody good? Oh, I see a few people just came in. We were talking about, I'm going to end up cutting this video and making another video out of it, but we were talking about the laws for the recovery homes and all the news that's happening about the recovery homes so that you guys understand how to manage and work through this situation. But to give you a very short rundown, again, Airbnbs, condos, residential buildings, they violate basically the building code or the apartment residential laws for apartments and buildings and condos, and then they also violate the health ministry law. So you want to make sure, even with a private nurse, like I said, they know your medical service, they know you don't live here, you need to get into the right type of facility, you need to get into the right place for the minimal amount of time necessary. In terms of, providers offering you services and being willing to offer services that are unlicensed, that are unapproved, that are unaccredited, that are not in the process, are things that I want you to be aware of. I want you to be mindful of. People will try to manipulate the information, but again, please be mindful of this. Be very careful. The reason I say that is because it is not good if somebody's lying to you before you even leave your country. Imagine what will happen when you get here. As always, we're wishing you the very best with your body goals and with everything else you have going on in your day. Wishing you well. Remember to follow us. And if you ever need anything, hit us in the DM. I'll talk to you guys soon. God bless.